Yes, I just wanted to respond to your video where you claim that on CARE's website they have denounced acts. Well, it is correct to say that CARE has denounced acts of terrorism, but they will not denounce any terror organization by name. And also, I found it a little bit ironic. I don't know, maybe you will too. That in that list that you have linked up there on CARE's website, they quote Hezbollah as being against the attacks of 9/11. And it says that Hezbollah called the attacks barbaric acts. And also this leader said that even though Muslims were opposed to the American government because of its support for Israel, the American people should not be blamed. And there's a huge loophole in that statement because he could be saying that the Muslims in America should not be blamed for the acts of America. So this is not, to me, this is not even a clear denounce by Hezbollah to the barbaric acts of 9/11, which to me is ridiculous anyway that CARE quotes them considering they are an enemy of our country. They also mention Hamas on this page that you link to as denouncing the acts of 9/11, another organization that is an enemy of our country. Not really understanding why CARE insists on quoting them. I would just like to read for you the Free Muslim Coalition, which I mentioned in my other video, what their statement against terrorism says, and I'd like to get your reaction to it. I'd like for you to explain where they're wrong in what they're saying, and I'll put a link up to it under the comments for this video, and I'd just like you to read over it and just let me know why CARE can't support this and why there isn't a huge Muslim following for this. Here it is. The Free Muslims Coalition believes that there can never be a justification for terrorism. The coalition believes that fundamentalist Islamic terror represents one of the most lethal threats to the stability of the civilized world. The existence of Islamic terrorists is the existence of threats to democracy. There is no room for terrorism in the modern world, and the United States should take a no-tolerance stance on terrorism in order to avoid another tragedy along the lines of 9/11. With the added threat of biochemical weapons, the call to defeat terrorism has never been so urgent. Among Islamic scholars, the concept of jihad ranges in definition from the personal struggle against temptation to holy war. All calls for jihad to create an Islamic state should be rejected, and it is a threat to modern society. The coalition feels that the concept of jihad should be reinterpreted for a modern-day context in which holy war is obsolete. No holy war needs to be waged. There is no clear and present threat to Islam. The only war that needs to be waged in the modern world is one against terrorists and extremists, as militant Islamic fundamentalists increases. The coalition will wage a battle of the minds as we bring Islam into the 21st century and introduce a doctrine which is compatible with democracy and modern living. So far, the few Muslims who choose to speak up against militant extremist Islam have faced threats of violence and accusations of being anti-Islam. Even members of this coalition face threats as they carry out their work. In effect, the message disseminated by the radical Muslims is merely discussing Islamic terrorism is not to be construed as an attack on Islam. More effectively, Muslim extremists have quelled criticism against them from peaceful Muslims by adopting popular Muslim and Arab causes. A case in point is the adoption of the Palestinian cause. The issue of Palestine and the perceived suffering of the Palestinians is the single most important issue that unites the entire Muslim and Arab world. No issue evokes the passion of Muslims and Arabs as much as the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. The Palestinian-Israeli conflict is so important to Arabs and Muslims that every terrorist group from Morocco to Indonesia that seeks legitimacy and a following places the liberation of Palestine at the forefront of their agenda. I'm going to skip just a few lines here because I want to get to the end of this before my 10 minutes runs out, because that's the length of the video. The clever adoption of the Palestinian cause has made it difficult for peaceful Muslims to attack terrorist organizations such as Islamic Jihad and Hamas. The real aim of organizations such as Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Hezbollah, there they are, naming them by name, and countries such as Iran, is not just the liberation of Palestine, but the creation of a fundamentalist Muslim empire made up of every Muslim nation. This desire to create a Muslim empire is based on the delusion that modernity is a threat to Islam, and the idea that the Muslim community has strayed from God, and if they were to return to a strict interpretation of Islam, that the problems in the Muslim world would be solved. It is this exact mentality spurned of paranoia, ignorance, and fear that inspired and supported the Taliban and the creation of a medieval society in Afghanistan. The coalition rejects the urgent desire by extremist groups to create a strict Islamic empire. Well, there you have it. And I was reading right from the Free Muslim Coalition's website. I will link up to it in my comments for this video. And I'd be curious to hear what many of you Muslims out there have to say about this, if you agree with this, if you could stand with the Free Muslim Coalition on their stance on terrorism. And I will be looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Bye.